And it looks like we are just about ready to go on our next run, which will be by rubbertoe64, who will be running SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom any percent. And we have also had an incentive met, which will also allow for us to observe today the glitch showcase and exhibition, which should follow up the run. So whenever you're ready there, Rubbertoe, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you. So I'm rubbertoe64, and here I am with Smiley, if he wants to introduce himself.
Yo, what's up? I'm Smiley. I also speedrun this
And we're
game.
pretty much just gonna start here soon. Just give me a second, and I will do a countdown. That way the marathon people can start the timer. Just get ready. All right, are you guys ready? I don't know if they're gonna start the timer or not, but I'm gonna count it down. So, 3. Yeah.
We're just gonna
3,
count down.
2, 1, go. Alright, so we're playing SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, and I'm going to be doing any percent. So just beat the game with the least amount of golden spatulas available. And this game is oh yeah, go ahead, Smiley.
Yeah,
You can explain it.
This game is a collectathon, so there are 100 golden spatulas, and to beat the game we need to collect 75 of them. So that's what we're gonna do, because there's no way to skip the toll gate at the end. The game is split up in 3 segments. So in the first segment we just need to collect 15 spatulas. And Rubbertoe is going to set up one of the first major skips right now. Here we're going to disable the out of bounds detection by entering a level while we're being grabbed out of bounds. So yeah.
Yeah, this game is
So this just disabled.
This game is very similar to Mario 64, where we need just a certain amount of golden spatulas. And it's also similar to Mario Sunshine because we can trade in 10 Patrick socks for 1 spatula, as well as the game's currency. We can use those to trade in for spatulas as well.
Yeah, he's going to grab a sock right now, so 10 socks equals 1 spatula. And now he's grabbing this spatula from out of bounds, which is only possible because we just disabled the out of bounds detection for the game. Now, are you going for fodder skip?
If it's on a good spot, maybe. That's not a very good spot.
Depending on where this robot lands, you can do a damage boost here, which is very difficult. Alright, the robot was not in the right spot. But we're going to set up another damage boost here to skip across the map to the end. We're going to manipulate this hammer bot so we can use him as a platform to damage boost up. He needs to hit jump on the perfect frame, because after a damage animation there's a single frame where you can jump, and that's how he just managed to get up there.
Yeah.
So this is Jellyfish Fields, the first area. We're only actually going to collect a couple spatulas here because as it's like a tutorial level, most of it's pretty slow. But yeah, there are many levels from which we can choose to get spatulas because we only need 75, which leaves the routing very open-ended.
Got a nice 1 frame there to keep the momentum from the slide, which is very nice.
We're also collecting these shiny objects, which can also be traded in for spatulas. They also serve some other purposes, like toll gates and stuff. But the main use for the spatulas for us is going to be buying spatulas from, you guessed it, Mr. Krabs, who we're avoiding now to set up a glitch for later. Saving Cortada, let's go.
The window jump. Here we're going to be entering downtown Bikini Bottom.
Downtown.
So one good thing about downtown is that it has a lot of shiny objects. It's not the fastest level, but all the shiny objects are very helpful in early game. Because we're going to need to buy 1 spatula from Mr. Krabs early on. in order to duplicate a spatula, which we'll explain later, but that's why we need many shiny objects right now. So he's manipulating the cannon now to shoot down these stacks to press
Got the
the
good
button.
RNG, so that's great.
So after this spatula, we're going to see one of the first major glitches, where SpongeBob's going to shoot up into the air. So how many of you guys have played this game as a kid and not seen it ever since?
Yeah, for me, I started off on GameCube. That's how I played this game as a kid. But the optimal console for this, for speedrunning, is the OG Xbox, which is what I'm playing on right now.
So he's doing these double jumps now to store a SpongeBob pickup, so he can become the SpongeBob on top of the tiki. And by rolling away, the tiki goes up, and then he can store the momentum of the tiki rising into a massive jump. Because all the rising just converts into a single frame of jumping, which gives a massive speed boost. I think, was the PlayStation 2 version the most popular? Because I think I played this on PlayStation 2 as a kid.
PlayStation 2, probably.
So he's setting up the same glitch now, but instead of jumping up straight away, he's going to warp to a different level and take the jump with him to the other level. Unfortunately, he missed the jump just now, which is because it's actually a frame perfect jump. You need to jump like the first frame after you load into the level to take the jump speed with
The
you.
backup. There we go.
So hopefully he gets it second try, and there we go. I can notice now that there's a little bit of delay from what I'm seeing, but that's okay. Okay, so he's entering this box now. These boxes are meant to be used as backtracking. Like if you're at the end of an area, you can use the box to go back. And the spatula he just grabbed by jumping way up into the air. You're supposed to get that one later and then use the box to get back to where you were. So the box, we're just abusing the box at this point to go halfway across the level. Apart from that, this is one of the only areas where we actually use Sandy. This game actually has 3 characters which you can play as: SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. But SpongeBob is kind of broken, I guess. SpongeBob just has many different abilities. So we will be mostly using SpongeBob because some of them are really broken.
Oops. Here's another sock. There we go.
So this is just a fighting area, which is again useful in early game because it gives a lot of shiny objects. SpongeBob is broken. Oh no.
He is very broken, actually. Probably one of the most broken characters in this game.
One of the good things is though is that most of the glitches we're using are actually like pretty difficult to pull off, and you would never come across them just playing this game. Like, the game is actually pretty solid, and you really need to try to break this game. It took years to come up with all these glitches, is what I'm saying. So we're going to set up another one of these massive jumps with the SpongeBob here. But this time we're not using the tiki, but we're using these platforms here, which are going up and down. But apart from that, it works the same way. So since the platform is rising, we're taking that momentum to a different level.
Backup.
That's unfortunate. Are you going to buffer it this time? So instead of jumping first frame, you can do a safety strat, which we're doing now because this is a marathon, but it loses a bit of time.
The jump there.
Well, it do be a marathon, but if you buffer it, you can disconnect the controller, which pauses the game as you load in a level, and then you can decide yourself when you jump instead of
There we
having to do
go.
it frame perfectly. So this jump actually takes us like way across this hub world. So we're actually sequence breaking this game pretty bad right now. You're not supposed to be here until after you beat the first major boss. But we're not done yet. We're just gonna do this again because if you can break the game even more, then why don't we? So he's just gonna store this sponge ball and do some tricky movement with the sponge ball to make our way up to the next hub area. The game is like split up in 3 areas. You have early, mid, and late game, and there are 2 major bosses that you need to defeat to unlock the next area, and then the 3rd major boss is the final boss. But now we're actually entering, like, this is the final level of the game. Actually, you're not supposed to be here until like way later. But for some reason, every area has 3 levels, and one of them is just unlocked on default, so you can just enter this whenever you want, which is very helpful because we're able to get here in early game already with some tricky skips. So this spatula used to be quite notorious. There was like a trick where we had to glide across to this acorn, but eventually we found that there's a pretty simple way of doing this. We go here as Sandy, and by hitting our head into the ceiling here, you can hit a checkpoint trigger, and then we just use the manure here to respawn at the checkpoint at Sky.
Sky. At Sky.
Skydiving there. So here we're going to collect the final couple of shiny objects in early game. And then we're going to buy one of the spatulas from Mr. Krabs. So this is... And after that we're actually going to enter the first major boss. So here we go, we are in Hub 3, buying a spatula from Mr. Krabs, which you're not supposed to do until you unlock Hub 3. So this allows us to, like, sequence break the spatula purchases from Mr. Krabs, and now we talk to him again in Hub 1, but that then resets the tasks for Mr. Krabs. So when we unlock Hub 2, we can actually buy all of the spatulas again. So that allows us to buy the first spatula from Mr. Krabs twice. So we just duplicated the spatula, basically. And now we're trading the first couple of socks to Patrick. So 10 socks equals 1 spatula. And we're finally entering the first major boss.
Very fun part of the game.
So this is Robo Sandy, and the main reason we're doing this, because it takes quite kind of a while to get past this part, but the main reason we're doing this is because these major bosses actually unlock certain power-ups, and we can use these power-ups to save a lot of time in a couple levels later on.
Yeah, this fight and the other fight, Robo Patrick, have not changed in 6 years pretty much. There hasn't been any skips for them because they're just so well made. But other bosses we'll see later, they actually have a debug trigger that we can use to just skip them entirely. But unfortunately these guys don't have them, so we'll have to sit through it.
So this is a good moment for some donations, if there's anything you wanna shout out.
So we haven't had any come in the last couple of minutes here, but I will say that there are a lot of wonderful incentives left for donating to and aiming a donation target at that are coming up later on throughout the weekend. So please make sure to have a look at that incentives list, folks, if you are wanting to donate. As well, you can also enter to win a variety of different prizes that usually come with a minimum $20 donation as well. So please also check out the prize page to see what you can possibly win.
We were actually planning to shout out the incentive that we made for this game during the boss fights, but that one is already met. So I want to say thank you to everyone who donated for the incentive, because that's actually pretty crazy. So we can use the rest of the time here to shout out. There's also a modding community for this game. There's like the most major mod at this point, I would say, is BFB Mix, which is made by Skywise. So shout out to Skywise. It's like basically the complete game, but every level is remade from the ground up, which is pretty cool.
And there's boss fights as well. They're just all remixed. It's pretty cool.
We also Ben Zurka also asked us to shout out his run from 11 months ago, so shout outs to Ben Zurka for having a 59-29. Alright, so we're getting close to the end of this final boss, at which point we're finally ready to use our new power-up, which is going to be a bubble ball. It's like a bowling ball that we can shoot, but it's like made from bubbles. So we're gonna use the bubble ball here to get onto the taxi pad quicker. Which also shows that you can get like kind of a speed boost from the bubble ball power-up, which is a little bit of foreshadowing, just letting you know. Ooh, you almost got he's trying to get a damage boost there, but it's a pretty difficult one.
Yeah, you have to jump at a specific time to get it, and then do a 1-frame input.
So we're going out of bounds here to just avoid a cutscene trigger. And now we're going to set up another... this is like a very precise trick, but there's a setup, so we can get this pretty consistently.
Nice.
Right, so he just used the damage from the goo to get some momentum, and then by slamming into the building, for some reason it stops your vertical momentum. And then you can just glide across the entire level here with just a slam. And now we're just basically doing the entire level backwards, because you're not supposed to be here until like at the end of the level. And this game's warping system allows you to teleport to any tasks you've unlocked. So we're actually going to be using that to our advantage while doing the level backwards. We're going to set up like one of the major tricks that we can do is Patrick here. This is like the best use of Patrick we have this area. So we're gonna grab these tikis here, and these tikis, we're gonna bring them to a skee ball tent. This is like a carnival. There are a bunch of mini games you can do here. There's also like whack-a-tiki instead of whack-a-mole. And the skee ball tent, you can play at the skee ball tent with the power-up that we just unlocked, the bowling ball, and you just throw the ball into one of these holes, and they give you shiny objects. So at one point we figure out a way to glitch the skee ball tent to get way more shiny objects than you're supposed to. So we're gonna use these tikis to make that happen. This tiki needs to be in a very specific spot. And it looks like we got the tiki in the correct spot, so hopefully the trick is going to work now. Warning to headphone use, because this is a little bit of a loud trick coming up. And there we go. So the bowling ball is stuck between the tikis, and the tikis make it like vibrate back and forth into and out of the trigger that gives you these shiny objects. And that allows us to get as many shiny objects as we need for the rest of the run here. There's also you can also do this trick with only a single tiki, which is like one of the most inconsistent strategies in the game because it's kind of unpredictable how the ball moves around when you have just one tiki. So the second tiki is a bit of a safety strat, I guess you can say, but really it's just way more inconsistent with a single tiki. See if we get pure slide skip.
Ah, almost.
Almost. Oh my goodness. He's trying to jump through the spatula, which skips like the spatula animation by drowning into the goo. So at this point, we have enough shiny objects for the rest of the run, I think, and then we can just clear out the rest of this level from the end back to the beginning, because we can do the level backwards now, which is gonna be like insanely fast, really. So now we can just like grab the spatula here, which unlocks the task for getting the spatula, and then we can use that task to warp back to the start of the level. And this is a concept that we'll use in a couple other levels as well. For this castle, the sand castle here, there is a mode, and you're supposed to buy a clam somewhere to unlock a button, and then you can throw a melon to the button, but actually the button is already there, it's just invisible, so we can just hit it with a precise bowling shot. So this bowling ball is gonna hit an invisible button to unlock a spatula.
Very cool for the devs to leave that button there active.
Yeah, thanks to the devs. Shout out. So that's pretty much it for Goo Lagoon in the speedrun. And now we're gonna go to a different level.
Would this be a good time to read out a donation?
Yeah. I think there's a bit of time.
All right. So we have a $20 donation from S-Man. And the comment here says, I'll never let you have this boat. Not even if you were Mrs. Puff. Thank you so much to S-Man for that donation.
I think that's the reaction he was looking for.
Yeah.
It's a quote from the SpongeBob series.
Welcome to the...
Yeah, it's when Mrs. Puff is taking SpongeBob's boat, and he says, "I'll never let you have this boat, not even if you were Mrs. Puff." And then he goes, "Yep," he does that.
All right, so we're doing a couple damage boosts here. This is the rock bottom level, and we're also gonna do this like not in the intended order. So we just cut across like half the map there, but we're gonna do some of it in the intended order in this level. This is another damage boost. You're supposed to use Sandy to get this spatula, but with a clever damage boost we can make our way up there. We're almost finishing up the mid-game, but first we have a frame-perfect trick here, which is quite difficult, so
There we go.
let's see how many tries we need. Let's go. So second try is pretty good. That's like you need to do a precise bowl to get the right angle, and then a frame-perfect jump to make your way up there. And now we're gonna do another damage boost. It's worth mentioning that most of these damage boosts are not frame perfect because we use the ground. And this game, if you walk off the ground, you still have a couple frames where you can jump. Ooh, that's unfortunate. Alright, we'll try this again, but the fact that we slide off the ground here gives us 15 frames where you can do like jumps and everything. And that's why the tricks are not frame perfect here.
Okay, we just barely made it.
Wow, that's
Oh, what the
very
heck?
close.
I got the weird push with the spatula.
Oh, yo!
there.
Saving 10 years, let's go.
That hardly ever happens.
I've seen that like once or twice, that's insane. Alright, so finishing up mid-game, we're just buying all of the remaining spatulas from Mr. Krabs. Remember that we can buy the first one a second time, so we're just buying 8 spatulas here. With all the shiny objects we collected from the skee ball machine. And after this, it's finally time for the second major boss. And for the same, just like with the first major boss, it takes a little bit. It takes a little while, but it gives us a power up, which makes it worth it. This power up is actually gonna unlock a speed boost in late game. So we're entering Industrial Park. This is like Robot Patrick. The major bosses are actually the same as the characters, but in robot form. So since this boss also takes a while, I guess it's a good time to shout out another part of the community. We have a tasking community as well. And there's actually an any percent task, which is from like a couple years ago. It's still pretty up to date. There's like one major glitch found since then, which is but apart from that, it's still a very good watch. And the maker of that also recently made a new task for cheat percent. And the cheat percent is only like 2 minutes, so if you have the time, I think it's worth a watch. There's also a rubbertoe, and a friend, Kotada, actually made a video explaining how the cheat percent task works, which would also explain some of the tricks that you're gonna see here in late game. So if you want to understand in more detail how some of the stuff works in this game, then that's definitely worth a watch as well.
Yeah, thank you for the shout out, Smiley. I'm sure Kotada would be very happy. There may be some of you that remember that there is actually also a SpongeBob game based on the SpongeBob movie. There is like 2 major SpongeBob games from this area that are kind of similar. So that's the SpongeBob movie game. That one also has a speedrun community, but yeah. This is like the first one. The battle for Bikini Bottom. There was only one 3D SpongeBob game before this, but this one's definitely a bit better than that one.
Look at that! The robot's made himself dizzy! That's the ticket!
So Sandy needs to hit these swingers here to spawn the platform, so that's why she need to go back there for a sec.
Oh! That was a doozy!
One other nice aspect of this game is that since the routing is like very open-ended, you have just 100 spatulas and you can choose whichever you want. There are actually quite a few different categories for this game, and by just changing the rules of the speedrun slightly, you can get completely different routes, which is pretty crazy. So there's like one category where we cannot use the warping system, which actually changes a lot because it means you want to do every level in one shot instead of using the warping system to backtrack. And there's also like a 100% speedrun, which is obviously way different, but yeah.
It looks like SpongeBob has an opportunity here.
The announcer fish is really great though. He has some really good lines.
Gotta be careful not to get hit here. Because it loses quite a bit of time if you get hit by the goo.
Yeah, this is mostly like predetermined how long this takes, so it's not really an intense part of the speedrun, but you can still lose a lot of time if you do make a mistake. And this third segment has the most potential for time loss, because where Patrick ends up after spinning is like pretty much impossible to predict. Like you can manipulate it somewhat, but actually knowing exactly where it's gonna land is pretty much just infeasible. And we are going to enter late game. So we just unlocked the final extra like power up. This is a cruise missile, which allows you to shoot missiles from a distance. But we're gonna use it for something different, as you will see as we enter this level. So here he's setting up a cruise boost by entering the cruise missile. As you do a ball move, you lock the ball move, which gives you a permanent speed boost. And this speed boost allows us to move twice as quick. So it gives you like a perpetual forward motion, this cruise boost. And he just used a bash to get up the platform. Normally the bash is only meant as a stationary attack for something above you, but since we have a cruise boost, we are actually being pushed forwards during the bash, which gets us onto the platform, which would normally be impossible. And we're setting up, this is like one of the most run killers in the entire speedrun here. This crack, you're not supposed to be in this crack. The game tries to push you out if you're in this crack, so we can store this momentum into a ball move, and it's taking a couple tries here.
Oh, I think I got it. There we go.
Yeah, let's go. Kind of first try, because the thing you really don't want to happen is that you get the ball but you fall down. But it looks like we got it. So yeah, the crack pushes you out. We take that momentum into a ball, and then we can just cut across the entire level because it's shaped in like a U. So now we're going to do another slide. Ooh, L control. So he's using the camera while he's watching a spatula animation, which is normally impossible. But by using the cruise missile on the frame, you grab a spatula, you can still move the camera, which saves 10 years actually. So we're setting up a, this is an extra fast cruise boost. This rock has like a bit of a weird collision, which drops you down as you walk off it. This is kind of common in the game. There are like ledges where you're not supposed to be. And by storing that displacement from falling down, we get a massive cruise boost. Like this is really fast. This is way faster than walking speed, obviously. And we're gonna use this speed to make our way across the level like way faster, but we can also skip a fight scene here at the end if we get this jump.
We can do the backup.
Ooh, alright.
There
is a backup here. Let's see if we can get the backup. Ooh, that looks good. There's like a massive invisible wall which you're supposed to get rid of by pressing a couple buttons, but now by using the massive speed. Oh my god, now I have to explain the vertical glide, Rubber. Why didn't you just get it first try with this double jump spin? So for some reason, just like with the glide in Goo Lagoon in early game, if you get stuck in some way during a slam, it messes with your vertical momentum and it gets stuck. So we can, for some reason, we can just glide upwards with the massive speed. So we're entering Murmurland now. And what's interesting is that the last couple of levels have been like part of mid game, but we're doing them in late game instead, which has to do with the power-ups. Because these massive speed boosts make these levels way faster. Imagine if this PBs. Do you actually have any idea what kind of pace you're on, Rubber?
Yeah, I'm plus 2 minutes.
Sounds good, sounds good. So this can still world record.
Oh, I made it. Wow.
So this is some pretty precise platforming. The bash onto there was kind of weird. Ooh. Oh my goodness.
Backed it up. No problem.
Nice backup. Nice backup. So we're going to do another boss fight here, but this one we can actually skip by going out of bounds. So this is like the prawn fight, but there's a debug trigger right above the spawn point. So by going out of bounds, we can jump to the debug trigger, which instantly skips the entire boss fight here.
Ah, that didn't work. Dang it.
You did get the first frame cruise missile though. There's a spatula animation skip that he tried to get there by like bowling into the spatula. As you leave the level, you can skip the spatula animation if you press the cruise missile first frame after the load. But he missed the spatula, unfortunately. It's like one of the hardest spatula animation skips, really. Are you going for ballroom DBB?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to go for it.
So, just like with some ledges, where the game doesn't want you to be on the ledge and pushes you down, we're gonna make use of that again in a moment. Hopefully this doesn't take 10 tries. Knock on wood. Ah, right, okay. So he did get a speed boost, but that's like... you're supposed to get way more speed, but it's a little bit inconsistent sometimes. But the game tries to push you between the stickies. And we just clipped inside of this cage with the spatula, actually. Which uses the cruise missile again. Because when you use the cruise missile, your hitbox changes a little bit, which allows us to clip into the cage. And now we're going back to downtown to collect a wheel. If you collect 11 wheels, you're supposed to go to Mrs. Puff to collect a spatula for collecting the wheels. But instead what we're going to do is we're going to get the spatula from Mrs. Puff in Rock Bottom. Which requires you 10 years again with an L control, let's go. So you're supposed to collect 6 arts to get that spatula, but instead we collect 6 wheels. And by using the cruise missile again, yeah, the cruise missile is very broken in this game. By activating the cruise missile first frame if we enter Rock Bottom, for some reason we can take the wheel count into this level. And Mrs. Puff thinks we collected 6 art pieces instead. Let's see if we... Did you get the... Insane.
Yes,
Insane. Okay, so that spatula animation skip is frame perfect. And if you miss... Oh, that's unfortunate. Alright, but that spatula animation skip, you need to enter the level on the frame that you collect the spatula. And then you don't have to watch the animation for collection. And this ledge grab, because you're stuck in the ledge grab animation, you're actually able to clip through the laser wall there. Oh my goodness. At least you didn't die. Oh my goodness.
That's why I always grab the underwear, just in case.
Well, it's a good thing you did. No L control. Alright, maybe we should reset this run, honestly. So he's using the invincibility frames from collecting a spatula to jump onto the lasers here. Because the game gives you like 1 second of invincibility when you regain control. So here we're doing, you're supposed to do a time challenge by hitting that button like with a slam, but you can actually just hit it with a cruise missile and then just skip the entire time challenge and cross the map in a different way. So now we're entering the kelp forest. Missing another displacement boost from Tikis. And we're actually going to do another massive cruise boost in this level. This is like one of the most insane cruise boosts you can get with these ledges. This rock has some really weird collision, which allows you to get like the fastest possible speeds you can get with ledge cruise boosts. The timing on this one is also slightly different, which makes it a little bit more difficult than the other ledge cruise boost.
Yeah, I think the angle really matters for this one.
It's worth noting that you need like the perfect angle to get the right displacement and still get the cruise boost. And then you still need to press the cruise boost buttons on the exact right frame. And now we're doing a slam into the spatula to drown before the animation starts. And then we can store the spatula animation to the loading screen here. And just like with a couple other levels, we can do this one in reverse order because we just entered the last area of the game. And here you're supposed to do a time challenge from the slide, but we can actually skip that and cheese it by just using these teleport boxes. No L control, SMH. That one actually saves time. And now we can do this level backwards again. So we're just going to enter the areas in reverse order, and we can just collect the spatula at the end and warp back to the start and repeat the process.
Hey.
I think it is also worth mentioning that some people may have been introduced to the speedrun by a video about lag clipping and putting ketchup onto discs. That was a short period. Luckily, we don't have to put ketchup on our discs for optimal gameplay anymore. Lag clipping was like a product of the game lagging, which allows us to clip through the floor. But we fixed that by, instead of running on a disk, we're now running it straight from the hard drive, which pretty much makes the lag clips impossible. And it also speeds up the loads, which makes it like optimal to do this, even though you can save time with lag clips. And now we're doing the collectible counter thing again. So we're using the 6 wheels in downtown, and we're tricking the game into thinking they're campers instead. So we can collect the spatula from Mrs. Puff in the kelp forest. So this is one of the more insane movement segments in Squid's Dream, where all the platforms are like on a cycle.
Let's go.
On another L control, saving 10 years. This run is on pace to beat every world record ever. So we're going to enter the final major level in the game, the Flying Dutchman's Graveyard.
The graveyard.
This level is mostly movement intensive, so there's like one major trick which we'll get to in a moment. So by hitting this goo tanker, we're lowering the goo, and there's this cage with the spatula here, and you're supposed to do like a time challenge somewhere by a clam and then roll fast enough to the spatula, but we're going to skip that in just a moment. These cruise boosts from these tiny poles are actually extra difficult because you're doing some sideways movement to get the cruise boost, and they make the timing way more precise. So we're throwing a ball and just bashing into the ball, and for some reason that makes the game push you downwards into the cage just slightly, and that's for some reason good enough to collect the spatula, so that's really nice. There used to be a different trick we did there, where you had to do something similar, but instead of just bashing, we had to do a frame-perfect displacement ball, just like you've seen a couple times. But yeah, luckily this is way easier, so we're now just using this trick instead. And here we're going out of bounds, like you're supposed to go all the way across the level and into a bungee to collect the spatula, but we can just go out of bounds and then warp to the spatula. So we're just abusing the warp system again. These are like some weird jumps where you can jump from certain ledges that shouldn't be there, but because the cruise boost is pushing you into the wall, the somewhat faulty collision detection thinks you can actually jump on these ledges. This is like one of the last few spatulas before we're going to go to the final boss. So we're just pressing some buttons to unlock some spatulas here. And there we go, that's the final spatula. We're just going to trade in the last few socks to Patrick, and then we can finally enter the final boss when we have 75 spatulas.
They serve food here, yes, but they don't serve love.
So we can bash into this spatula, and then by gliding into the trigger here, we can overlap the spatula animation with the door unlock cutscene. So we can save a little bit of time here. And now this boss fight is similar to the prawn boss fight, where there is a debug trigger above the spawn point, which skips everything. So we're going to try to jump way up in the air here. Nice, first try. That's a little bit tricky, so you just use the rotation from the karate chop to gain a lot of momentum. And this is the final area. So you're supposed to do a bunch of battles with robots to get to this point and then shoot missiles into the brain here. But we're just going to use some platforming and cruise boost to get here. And there are 3 fuses, and the timer stops when we hit the last fuse. So that's fuse number 1, that's fuse number 2, and then here we have the last fuse, and when we hit the fuse, it's time. And the time ends. I was probably late because of delay, but that's it. That's the time. 48:17. Honestly, not bad for a marathon. I think it was mostly the SpongeBob jumps that lost a lot of time. So I think most of it went pretty well, right? OBS just disconnected. Perfect timing. There we go. I don't even know if they can still hear you because I think they took your voice from like from the stream, right? I think they should hear me though, and I can tell you that we're not quite done yet because there was a donation incentive for a glitch exhibition, so stay tuned for that. As we try to fix OBS. Thank goodness that happened right after you finished the run. That is actually a miracle, honestly. I do not understand how that happened.
Do I start the glitch exhibition now, or do I wait a little bit to see what they have to say?
At host.
You can go ahead and get started with your exhibition if you like. And by the way, thank you very much for that run. It was unreal watching all of that awesome stuff. It was wonderful just to see how wild it was. I've never really seen much of this game, and it was phenomenal to see it run in such a unique and an interesting way. And obviously, runner and commentary were both phenomenal. But yeah, anytime you're ready to take it away with your glitch showcase, by all means, go ahead.
All
Thank
right,
you.
What
And
should I
also
start with, Smiley? You think?
Also, thanks to everyone watching, and to
yes.
everyone donating. Obviously. All right. So should we start with some showing off some glitches?
Yeah. All right. Let's see. What can I start with here?
You have a bit of a list, right? Just go off them in whatever order you wrote them down.
Okay. So the first one is over here in Cup Forest. So it's gonna be kind of explaining the super jumps that we did earlier, how I got super high in the air, but we're gonna use this stone instead. So whenever you use this button, this stone kind of spawns on the top, and if you actually jump on the stone and then jump on the frame, it actually goes up. You can get a big jump. See if I
Yeah,
can get
because
it
there's
here.
actually only one stone object in the game, so it's not like they're spawning a new stone. They're just moving this stone upwards. So that gives a ton of momentum, which allows us to jump way up into the air. It's obviously kind of tricky because you need to land on the stone in the right way and jump frame perfectly, so this might take a little while. At least it's a very fast retry here.
Yeah. Ah, almost had it. I think I was off by a little bit. Same with that one. Oh my gosh.
So this is kind of similar to the SpongeBob stuff,
Oh.
but what the SpongeBob does is it actually stores your... Ooh, there we go. There we go. This kind of shows like how high you can jump in this game, and this is not even as high as you can go, but with this setup always gives the same height. But the SpongeBob stuff can make you go up way higher. But yeah, this setup is just really fun. It's just not used in any categories, but it's so much fun.
Yeah.
This glitch is wild.
Alright, next thing here is Paper Sandy, so I'm gonna go to
This
rock
one,
bottom.
as opposed to the last one, is completely useless,
to this.
but it is actually completely wild as well. So I don't know if we know exactly why this happens, but we're gonna use Sandy, and you have these Texas swingers, and by repeatedly grabbing the swinger, you get closer and closer to like the center of this object, and eventually you're exactly the center, and that's when Well, you'll see when this starts to happen.
Sometimes you get too close to the center that you can't even grab it anymore. But if I can pull this off,
Yeah, we
it'll
can
be a
already
nice
see how
treat to
wild
show
this
off.
is. But let's try
think I
to
should
get
be able
this
to get it
actually
here.
working.
You can already see the effects.
Let's go. Here we go. This is.
Oh, there we go.
I think you can explain this one better, actually.
So we call this, yeah, paper sandy, if you want to explain it, Smiley, I guess, or... Well, pretty much, well, you kind of said it earlier, we don't really know why it happens, but we get so close to the center that the game doesn't really know what to do, so we just get really stretched, or we become paper, and we're upside down, and it's really, really weird. And Sandy can actually, chop stuff from far away. That dupe over there, that blue thing, we can actually hit
This
it
is
from
totally
here
not broken or anything.
if we get the right frame. Oh, there we go. Just hit it from way the heck over here. Really, really, really fun. Really, really weird. Yeah, this is the new Paper Mario. And surprisingly, you can actually switch to SpongeBob and he'll stay like this. And what's really interesting is that if you hold L, which is for the cruise missile, you can see that it just completely changes. So it's like a totally different model or hitbox, and that's why we think we can clip with the cruise missile, because it's just a totally different like code.
Yeah, makes
Really,
no
really cool
sense
stuff to see.
whatsoever, but it
It's
looks
just, like,
insane.
upside down, paper, stretched, all at the same time. Really, really interesting.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned lag clips
Alright,
in
the next thing I
Kelp
have here
Forest.
is Thunder Tiki lag clip,
So, I
go
said that
here.
on hard drive you can't lag the game anymore to lag clip, but that's not completely true. It's just that we used to use pause mashing to generate lag, which doesn't work. But we can still generate lag this way. There we go. So this is a lag clip, which used to be part of the speedruns, but on hard drive we can't really use this anymore. But we can still do it with these Thunder Tikis.
Yeah, it's very weird that this cloud just generates so much lag that you can just press L and you'll just clip through. Very, very, very interesting. And cool.
There we go.
Let's see, what
Maybe
else
you
do we
should
have
do
here?
that
Oh,
one
Bungee
last.
blue screen.
If there's any other you still want to do.
Okay, yeah. There's the super fast downtown
Right.
cruise boost
So
that we
just
can get.
disproving what I said
We'll
about the
show
Kelp
that off
Forest
real quick.
ledge cruise boost instantly. Thanks, dude. So in Kelp
get
Forest, I
this
said that
reasonable
was like the
amount of time.
fastest ledge cruise boost. That's not completely true because this one is even faster, but this one actually uses. Oh my goodness! Already? Oh my
Oh,
goodness!
nice.
So this one's even faster, but it kind of uses slightly different tech to activate, which allows it to be that much faster.
Hey there, Spun.
Yeah, you can just see how fast it is because I'm able to clip through pretty much anything.
This cruise boost is just insane. This is the fastest cruise boost we can realistically get in real time. With tool assistance, you can get some faster cruise boosts, which you can see if you watch the cheat percent task, and which you can understand if you watch the explained task. But anyways, yeah, this is pretty much as fast as you can go in real time.
Just clip through most things. Let's see. The other thing I have here is trampoline storage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So might
So
as
the
well do it
sponge
here.
ball, we earlier saw that it can store some location things to generate massive jumps, but it can store a bunch of things. So we're changing into the sponge ball while rolling onto this trampoline actually stores the momentum from the trampoline. So we can just bounce up into the air wherever we want. This was actually found way before we knew about the massive jump stuff. So when this was initially found, this was still more useful than now, when we can just use the displacement to jump way higher. But it's still interesting tech, and it still has some niche uses in some weird categories.
Let's see. Oh, right, bungee. I think that was the last thing.
Yeah.
Bungee
I think
booster,
it's
'cause I think we're
it
coming
should
up
be
on 10
good.
minutes, right? So
Since you've restarted, it's
I
been
can do
like
it
10
in-
minutes. So yeah.
yeah. So an interesting thing about these bungees is that if you press B on the very first frame that you enter it, you get something interesting to happen. Let's see if I can get it here.
Yeah, there are different ways to activate this glitch, but this is like the fastest setup. And there we go.
Oh,
So, yeah. Basically kind of a crash, but you can actually restore this crash. So it's not that big of a deal, but you can't move around anymore, and the menu is completely messed up.
you can actually still warp, so you can kind of get out of this
Yeah.
semi-crash thing. But it's very
Yeah,
weird.
you can also
We
activate
don't
this
really know
blue
why it
screen
happens.
by getting stuck in certain places with a cruise boost. It's not very well understood, but it doesn't happen easily, luckily. This game doesn't ever really crash or anything during actual speedruns.
Yep. And I think that was pretty much it for the glitch exhibition.
All right. Well, thank you both very much. And thank you again to everybody that donated towards that incentive as well. And once again, thank you for that wonderful run and the awesome commentary as well. We are going to take a moment and switch over to the next runner in just a few minutes.
Well, thank you for having us, and thanks to everyone for watching. And thanks everyone who donated for the incentive. Very much appreciated.